Hello guys! Live streaming tayo guys. Update lang tayo. Pasok lang sa mga hindi busy dyan.
You could say that this disaster was a string of bad decisions. Machines break, components fail. This will happen again. Engineering disasters starts Thursday the 12th of May at 9 on History 2.
Mega loud shoutout everyone! Pasok lang guys sa mga may bagong upload at premiere dyan para matamsakan natin.
If we didn't have challenges thrown at us, just think how boring our lives would be. This flight kind of reminds me of something I've had. 111 SNS motor, 6-speed transmission. This is gonna fly. Yeah. Are you ready to see this thing? Oh man. Shannon, according to Ryan, not to get emotional here. He wants to die. Come on, brother, bring out that beautiful latte. Oh, I said, look at that. Nothing looks like that. That was so new. This is counting.
Nalaglag. Liligpit tayo guys. Pasok lang.
So, it should be exciting.
Hello! Mega loud shout Sisi Yani. Thank you for coming, my love. Thank you, thank you.
Has hung up a brand new shop sign that he convinced me to pay for that. Of course, he was going to make. The concept is phenomenal. He was going to make it up. You know, when you gamble on Holy Mike, it's always a train wreck. You just pray. But this time you got it.
I'm just updating my... How are you, sis? Happy Mother's Day. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Happy Mothers also. Happy Mother's Day to your mother and to your sister. Or I don't know if you are single or already married, but I think you are still single, right? Thank you, Lalabsiani. I will visit your house.
So they were pretty much toast. We fixed everything we could find. Fresh coat of paint, power wash, wonderful. But now we're going to talk about the signs. We'll start over here. I love the address on buildings, man. This sign, the colors are right on the money. Everything is dimensional, man. Way better than when they were just airbrushed on the building. Right.
I'm here in your house, Sis Yani. So I'm just playing with your videos. I'm doing cleaning. I will just cleaning the house while I'm live streaming because I don't have time. I'm here in your house.
The main sign. Oh, dude, look at all the pearl in this. Oh, it had to happen, man. Had to happen. All the flake in it, all the everything in it. I want it to twinkle. I want it to be jewelry. Dude, I absolutely, oh my gosh, I stand over here.
Pangako Sa'yo by Ray Valera.
Sincere congrats, man. Hey, you tore it up. Yeah. Anyway, that's not it. That's not it. I got a little surprise for you. I hate surprises, but okay.
You're welcome, Sisiani.
Oh, dude, yeah, step up the game. Now that is proper, man. Bam, that is way better. You can see that sucker.
Just wait.
Mine. That is unbelievably cool. This is amazing, bro. Thanks, man. I really dig it. This is important because when a client comes to get their vehicle, I love to, bring it out of here. And this just makes the dog factor, that much more stronger, that much more bolder. I love it. As a matter of fact, I kind of want the experience, man. Show me, make the thing run. I want to watch it debug. All right, thanks, you. This is amazing. Great job. Unbelievable. Oh, dude, in a winner, that's all. Okay, so let down early. Here we go. What's wrong? Never mind. But I didn't notice something. I didn't see the roller because that old cross was on. It was welded to it was in, but it was flat on this, and mine is elevated up. Hey man, I feel so much better now because the buildings are perfect, the signs are perfect, 99% perfect. Got one little slice of honey right. I thought it was going too well too. Can't anything. Well, I gotta say, man, Hollywood knocked it out. Well, almost completely knocked it out. I mean, once he gets the giant gate sign fixed, because it almost hits the roller there, things will be better. But I gotta tell you, I give him credit. He took the initiative, he did an amazing job, and it's beautiful. Just fix that gate. Mike, the gate is done. I know you'll have this thing back to operational in no time. I don't even know what to say besides thank you very, very much. Unbelievable. Ryan, my brother, it's Studebaker of Untitled. Yeah, it's another fiberglass body. I know. Hey, I know what's happening, bro. Not too much. A little while back, got a visit from unbelievable rocker Mr. Alice Cooper himself. There he is. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Alice Cooper. You love a cool car. Not a lot of people even know what these are.
Yeah, it's different. It's really different.
What year is this one?
It's the 63.
63. Alice brought me his 1963 Studebaker Avanti. Wants this car to be a way cool daily driver. Who can blame him? This thing's got outrageously good looks, but I gotta tell you, under the hood, not so thrilled. Although when this car came out, it was the fastest production car on the market. This thing broke like 29 different speed records at the Bonneville Salt Flats. But this particular one, the power plant is a bit tired, so we're gonna wake this baby up with a brand new engine from Mr. Alice Cooper himself, and redo the whole car in old school cool, just like the man who's going to be driving it. Anyways, Adam, how we doing here? Because I mean, it looks like a decent car, and it's Alice Cooper's, so.
Pangako sa'yo.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter at that point. It makes no difference with the condition of the car. It's Alice Cooper's car.
Right, we're gonna make it gorgeous. I see the interior's completely out of it, which is great. The comedy about that is when I was talking to Alice about the car, the whole interior was in it, it was old car. And the interior was just, I just need a few things just, fixed up here and there. Just had a couple of touch-ups. Right, and this is how we touch it up. It's good. So the object of the game on the car when I talked with you about was the appearance of the car to appear very much like the city.
Thank you, Sis Yani, for staying.
But it's all about.
Thank you so much. Oh my God.
Step, turn my air conditioning on, brakes are good. So, what's the plan? Yeah, no, we're good. On a motor, fuel injection, all that. So we'll probably just go LS1, LS2, or even the LQ, just because he doesn't need tons of horsepower. He's 3 something, 4L60, and then the rest of them mod. He already had a big aluminum radiator, changed power balance, boom, motor in. No problem. So I made all the measurements, okay, and everything will clear just right. Because the way the LS is with no distributor and everything, the way this engine department is, it'll actually perfect. I'll have room for the booster, everything will be. That's really. It should be fairly simple. It should be easy. Yeah.
It's almost finished.
Yeah. We have our first issue. It just sounds fantastic. And issues is easy. I agree with you. I could have it in tomorrow. I'm getting ready to mess that up for you. We're not putting the original motor. No, the original motor's not going to make it. Okay. What's the problem? Well, the Chevy LS and the 4L60 drivetrain is phenomenal, and we'll just go right in. That was hardcore Ford. It's a Detroit boy, he's a Ford man, and I understand that. But the way that I know, I'm looking right at it. So when you say Ford, the 4L and right here. I know. All of it and here. I know. I'm looking at it. That's not going to fit with the Ford one because the Ford pickup is in the front. Yep. And even the shortest pan is about 6 3/8. Well, if we didn't have challenges thrown at us, just think how boring our lives would be. Okay. Just trying to make it quick and easy. So it's all Ford. As I must appropriately say right now, welcome to my nightmare. Chris, I am so bad. Come on, brother, bring out that beautiful go talk to.
Oh, I said, you look at that. Nothing looks like that. That is so beautiful.
Everybody loves a treasure story.
From the producers of The Curse of Oak Island. The hunt is going global. Join Rick and Marty in the war room as they investigate the world's greatest treasure mysteries.
Every treasure hunt is a puzzle with a reward.
Stolen gold, hidden fortunes, cursed treasures.
Go in search of the truth, in search of the answers.
World's greatest treasure mysteries. Tonight at 9:45 on the History Channel.
All I remember him saying was the word shooting.
There's nothing worse than what happened here. It's as bad as it gets.
These are the true stories of neighborhoods torn apart by the unthinkable.
You know, this is the stuff that nightmares get made of.
City Confidential, Tuesdays at 10 on Crime and Investigation.
Here's the problem. While the Chevy LS and the 4L60 drivetrain is phenomenal and will just go right in, Atlas is a hardcore Ford.
That's not going to fit with the Ford market.
We've got rock and roll icon Mr. Alice Cooper 63 Studebaker Avante in the shop right now. So my man, Ryan and Adam and I, we're going to kind of go over a plan of attack and what we're going to do. Because see, Alice wants more horsepower and he wants it to be a lot more dependable. What Alice wants, Alice gets. If we didn't have challenges thrown at us, just think how boring our lives would be.
Okay. The only way we're going to afford it would be to clip it.
Okay, you know, a front clip is definitely a great idea on this. I can see all the issues here of doing an updated Ford motor. So if we clipped it, this is a full frame car. We're cutting the frame.
Yeah, we cut it right here in front of the body mounts
Right.
and clip it.
If you clip it will drive so much better, steer so much better, be safer, and the Ford drivetrain in months will fit beautiful.
Okay.
So here's what I need to do now. The ball is now firmly back in my court. I will contact Alice. We can't just take a torch to this man's brain until I call. Trust me, I'd rather not clip it. That's more for me. But it is.
If we do clip it, it's everything you want.
It's going to be a problem. It's killing like a whole flock of birds with one stone.
Yeah.
We're gonna make a gorgeous farm. You know, Alice back in the day creeped some people out with that nightmarish performances that he would do on stage, man. But right now here at Count's Custom, we got our own little nightmare going on. Working on this 63 Studebaker Monte, there are challenges. Putting a new engine in, yeah, we'll work that one out. But reclipping the whole car, that is a big challenge. I mean, we're literally changing the entire frame and chassis on the front end of this car. I think I'm gonna call Alice first, make sure he's cool with it before we start cutting it up. Yeah.
So I'll just take all those measurements and I'll just burn them or something.
Just throw them in the trash, man. I know, sorry about that.
All right, let's go find Ryan. Ryan. All right. Yo, you sanding them.
Doors.
How you doing? Got a new client, Gordy.
I did a dirty hand. Nice
All
to meet you,
right.
Gordy.
Our new client, Gordy, wants a custom chop. He's a neighbor of an old client of ours and really liked his bike. Now I gotta get with Ryan, make sure we make his bike the coolest chop on the block. We are building, Gordy, a cool chop.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Yeah, excited. So we're here to talk about paint, man.
All right, so what do you got in mind?
Well, I was thinking, first of all, pretty dark, somewhat subtle.
Okay.
You know, something that doesn't stand out paint-wise, like from a distance. But then when you get up, you know, towards it, maybe you start seeing some artwork. Or
So you're talking like black though? Like
black, yeah.
satin black,
Yeah, no color.
no color. So that's the only options there are satin black with some gloss black.
I want to kind of put some of the tattoos I have on my body
Okay.
on the bike.
Well, without stripping down to your skivvies, what kind of
Some kind of really religious. Virgin Mary, Jesus.
Man, Gordy, lots of artwork.
No color.
No color.
dark. What's popping into my head right now is kind of like a stained glass window.
Yeah.
But to try and do that
Without color.
without color, how for you?
Yeah.
Man, lost words.
Anything you can do it, man.
Even like Danny's street glide.
Okay.
That thing is covered in artwork, but it's
Straight satin.
really dark. And his is straight satin, no gloss. And it's very difficult to see the artwork. Yeah, I'm gonna have to test some stuff. I'm gonna have to put thinking cap because that's. All right, Gordy. I accept the challenge.
All right. Yeah. Over the years at Count Customs, I've been asked to do some next to impossible things. And as far as I'm concerned, between me and the team, we've pulled it off almost every single time. However, when a customer comes to me and wants a ton of intricate artwork, all black on black, I gotta say this time, I think Gordy's setting me up to crash and burn.
You got this, man. Come on now. All right, Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Man, that's been a long time since we slept. So,
Yeah, challenging.
There he is. Kettle Bob. Hey, how are you, my brother? I'm great. We're lucky enough to be working on Alice Cooper's Avante, man. This car is just as cool as Alice himself. And Bob's working on the interior. Says things are going great. I'm going to go check it out, see what it looks like.
I can see that you got my message about stopping in.
When you calls, I'm here.
So I want to talk to you about all this.
Yes, someone appears to have thrown up an Avante all over your floor.
Well, yes. There's a few issues. Let's start with this first. What's the captaincy? You see what I see?
I do.
It has been patched.
Yeah.
Horribly.
Yeah.
The heat has killed it. And all the like, there's no thread in it. It's falling apart. It's coming. It's old.
Yeah. It's been in the heat.
It's been cooked, and as much as we thought it was beautiful and nice and reusable, in the car,
Right.
we never even saw it. It looked like it was just need to be cleaned, like it was dirty.
Right.
Because originally we were just going to not touch it because it looked beautiful.
It looked good, but I can see that this is aged, dry rotted, and coming apart. So the last thing I want to do is return this car to it and say it's great, and then a couple of months everything's falling apart. I know that Alice wanted the car to appear as factory as humanly possible as far as aesthetics is concerned.
Okay.
But outside it's still going to look like a 63 Avante, and inside he wants it to look like a 63 Avante. So I'm going to say we need to go back to stock.
So this crazy teal bluish color we're going to do?
Let me call him, man.
Okay.
And talk to him and let him know that if he wants to change anything, now's the time. And if he wants to stay factory, this is what we're going for. But I'll let him know we're redoing everything.
Whether we do it back custom
Right.
or stock, right, still needs to be done.
So at this point, I would say, wait.
I'm not going to take anything apart.
Right.
Got it right here.
Right. My first thought was go ahead and start stripping everything, but don't.
No, I want to wait until I get
Until I get a word from him. You're on home. Thank you for showing me this. And now I
for coming by on a short notice.
It's my smile. It's my smile. This car is way too important for any corners to be cut.
Right.
So I'll get you an answer ASAP.
Perfect.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's going on, brother?
Fitting the seat fan on here.
Dude, this is looking great. I'm great.
Yeah.
This is looking fantastic. This is like us right here.
Oh yeah, good to see you. Yeah.
This is beautiful. What's the story?
So customer's name's Gordy.
Yeah.
And he came to us looking for a cool chop. So remember that Marlboro Man bike we built a few years back?
The tribute to the Marlboro Man bike.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Johnny,
Okay.
who owned that
Cool,
bike,
I like. Cool guy.
Gordy's his neighbor.
That is a great reflection on you and the team.
Right,
As
yeah.
neighbors, they're talking.
Which you can tell they have different tastes because this looks nothing like the other bike.
Well, the Marlboro Man bike was an FXR with the shocks removed and struts, so it was rigid-ish, so to speak.
Right.
This bike is, it kind of reminds me of something I've had.
And Gordy's been to our shop.
Okay.
He's seen the collection and whatnot.
Okay.
Fell in love with Oz's bike. Fell in love with Oz's.
I agree. I love that.
And he also fell in love with Coffin. So he's taken some things from different bikes and kind of put them together, started it up.
Here you guys are.
Hey,
Something like
good.
They're good.
Everything's good.
Hey, we're just going over the scoop.
Okay.
Shannon was telling me that this guy, he's kind of loves our style, loves the Aussie bike, loves my coffee bike, all that kind of
So
stuff.
he wants a long front end.
Yeah, 20 over. 20 over Sugar Bear. Nothing crazy.
So I got to tell you, Shannon really digging this wheel. I love the styling on it. Only here, rotor,
Right.
that's nice.
And contrast cut.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it goes great with the black engine.
A 111 SNS motor.
Dude,
6-speed transmission.
perfect.
Mhm.
This is gonna fly.
Yeah. It's going to be real nimble, real easy.
The 20 over Sugar Bear, Ozzy's bike and the coffee bike are 30 overs.
Right.
The 20 over, it's going to handle wonderful.
Shannon, just a question. What is your estimated time of completion on this?
Well, we got all the hard parts. So it's just a matter of me finishing up all the fab work and getting it right to the paint.
So we're probably about, if I had to guess the way it looks now, we're about 3 weeks, maybe?
Dig it.
Sounds good.
Shannon, I dig it. Yeah, a great job on this. This guy obviously has good taste. He came to the right place. He picked all the cool stuff from all the cool bikes and stirred it up in one pot. So this is so right up your alley. You probably are building this in your sleep. Great job. As usual. Shannon, Kent, you got a couple minutes?
Yeah.
Take it
All
easy,
right.
brother, man. Keep doing what you do, Shane.
Thank you, guys.
Beautiful.
She's in way better shape than most of the Corvettes we get.
Okay.
Everything looks pretty good on this side.
What do you mean on this side? Oh, wow, dude, it looks like it hit pretty good. Boy.
We're back. Tell us about the dig.
Well, we got it.
Let's go.
All right.
Oh, the focus, the hope. It was always solved the mystery. This island has got to be close to giving up its secrets.
Brand new, The Curse of Ohio, tonight at 9 on the History Channel.
It's incredibly rare for a criminal defendant to take a stand. It's a risk very few take.
Didn't know to be charged with murder. I didn't murder anybody.
I was addicted to his attention.
But that decision is likely the biggest one they ever made.
Brand new, Cool Cam, Under Oath, Fridays at 10 on Crime and Investigation.
Ryan, my man. Hanging out with Mr. Alice Cooper's Avanti. Love it. So I've already called Alice regarding cutting off the whole front of the frame of his Avanti and putting that brand new clip in there, and he is on board. And I'm on a roll with good news on this car. Ryan tells me he's got more. We'll go check in with him and see what it is. How's it going on this thing?
She's in way better shape than most of the Corvettes we get.
Okay.
There's a little bit of damage right there, but the pieces are still there, so we're not having to make any molds or anything like that.
Yeah.
Reproduce a piece.
Yeah.
That's a quick fix. Some of the seams at the top, at one time someone got into those and we're trying to fix them.
Okay.
Not bad, that's expected.
Well, it being a fiberglass car, like the Corvettes we run,
They flex, they move around, they inherently crack, they always throw corners like that. Everything looks pretty good on this side.
what do you mean on this side?
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Right around the back, everything looks nice and solid. Just your typical seams and cracks, no big deal. The caps, I'm not sure if these are factory, if they've been replaced, but not a bad job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Feathered out nice. We'll be able to do all of the typical seam stuff on there. No cracks in wheel wells, which is shocking.
Great. Dude, this is a really great bike.
Is he just typical?
Yeah.
No big deal.
No, right. Not bad at all.
Until we get to the big deal.
Oh, wow, dude, this car has been hit
Uh-huh.
at some time in its life.
Absolutely.
It looks like it's been hit pretty good.
Because remember right here, this is where all the paint, the material was kind of freaking out, cracking. But what it did is it pushed the whole nose over. You see how there's a big bow right there?
Sure do. I see it.
It's not on the other side.
Yeah, that side's not low.
It also blew it apart from the inner structure.
Yep.
It was hit hard enough where it split from the inner structure.
Yep.
And I can't even tell, just by looking at this, if this was an actual replacement part or someone actually popped the mold off this. I think it's salvageable. We cut it, relieve it, pull it back, blast it all back in. I don't know what it looks like underneath, so we'll probably need to cut the piece off and address anything on the backside. But it's at least 3 to 4 more days.
Understood?
Just here.
Understood. If this one corner is our biggest, scariest issue, I think we got lucky.
Absolutely. Doors were beautiful. The lid was beautiful. The deck lid was immaculate. So far, everything else other than this,
Okay.
it's really nice.
Okay. 98% of this thing is great. We got 2% to deal with over here. You know, Alice Cooper is one cool cat, and I love the fact that we're going to return to him a way cool car. He brought us a great Avanti, had some damage. Thing was in an accident at one time in his life, but other than that, I got to say, a fine example. I cannot wait to return this car to Alice and him lay his eyes on it.
Ryan, just gave me good news, man. As long as you're cool with 3 to 4 days,
Dude, I'm great with it. I'm great with it. I want that car to be so perfect for this guy. He's the coolest cat. I want this thing to be perfect.
So I was unaware that you sanded it now. Yeah, I didn't know.
Well, gentlemen and Mike, hey,
You know, 1 out of 2 is not that bad.
let me hear it. Which one was so cool? A while back, Shannon built a wicked chopper for a great client, and his neighbor fell in love with it, and now he wants a bike for himself. He's got some ideas for some artwork that's even stumped my man Ryan. Can't wait to see how this comes out. I know my man Ryan, and he's got a plan that's probably going to make Gordy's bike so gorgeous that his neighbors will come back and want another Counts Customs custom.
this is the thing for Gordy's chopper. We're going to do multi-layer 3D graphics, all in black.
Oh, wow.
We've done it before, but we've done graphics, linear graphics that didn't look like a face or a
Alex, artwork, flame,
Exactly.
panels.
Exactly. Right. This is the first time we're actually doing images that have to be recognizable.
Right. So this is his actual artwork, like tattoo artwork that he's got on.
Yeah, because he wants the whole bike to be satin, I'm not messing with any colors. This is the part where we normally would be using paint.
Correct.
In this case, we're using primer to build it up. So we're building up layers. We don't want the paint. We want everything nice and flat, smooth with the primer.
I just want to make sure I get this correct. You are taping the artwork.
Yep.
And then building it up with the primer after you've already done the artwork with the tape.
Right.
So then when you peel the tape, you have
Exactly.
the carving, so to speak.
So one taping the outside.
Peel it. I'm really curious too. I want to see how this looks. See that? That is a sharp line. Edges. I never thought. I mean, you know, I've seen you do it. I never knew you sanded it down.
That's amazing, Brian.
So imagine the whole bike with all these sharp lines with the images.
Okay.
So everything starts building up more and more and more and more.
I love it. This is really cool to see this process happen. I can't wait to see this all done, bro.
We both, because again, this is all new territory.
First shot, you got this, man. Well, it's Judgment Day, and Gordy and his wife Cheryl are here right now to check out this beautiful bike. I know I love it, and I know they are going to dig this thing. Gordy, you ride. How long have you been riding with them?
Since I was in my 20s, 30-something years.
Good. Cheryl, do you ride?
I ride on.
Right on. All right. Good, cool. And what do you normally ride?
I've got a 2015 Street Glide.
Great bike.
And then my dad gave me a 1999 Road King.
Fantastic. So, whose idea was this? Was the 3D vibe on this bike?
Well,
I'm calling it a 3D vibe. What are you calling it?
embossing, Gordy had a collection of artwork, most of it on him.
Okay.
He's carrying it with him right now. So Gordy wanted a very, very dark bike. He wanted a satin. So how do we get all this artwork that needs color but can't have color, get it all under a satin, blah, 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 with a light bulb, do everything like it's engraved.
Yeah.
Are you ready to see this thing?
Oh man, I can't wait.
I can't say enough. Nice.
Shannon, bring out my bar. Shannon, bring out Gordy's bike. So sweetie. Try not to get emotional here.
He wants to cry.
Man, oh man, this chopper is drop dead gorgeous. Shannon and Ryan threw everything at her, plus the kitchen sink. Shannon went to town with a custom Crafttech frame, a 111 cubic inch S&S engine, and a 6-speed transmission that's going to take Gordy's highway cruising to a whole new level. And it wouldn't be complete without a 25 over Sugar Bear front end. Gordy wanted an all-black bike with artwork inspired by his own tattoos. And all I can say is that Ryan is up the ante once again. The layered black-on-black designs all throughout the gas tank and fender gives this bike a classic, cool, three-dimensional look that grabs your attention and won't let go. Man, this bike came out so cool that I think I got some ideas for my next ride.
Great touch. Great touch.
Yeah, try this thing on.
Yeah.
It is so you, bro.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this is so perfectly fit to me. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Dude, shoulder to bar and everything. That's it. It's the right height. Just a little bit.
Oh,
Feels good.
yeah. It's just,
Stand this thing up. Just stand it up and turn the bars lock to lock, side to side, all the way left and all the way
Yeah.
right. Just turn them all the way. There's no weight.
oh
There's
yeah,
no fun.
yeah.
Gordy feels good, don't it?
Oh, amazing.
Shannon, tell us a little bit about her mechanically.
6-speed transmission, big old 240 rear
And
tire.
no weight. This is a light bike.
Yeah.
111 with a 6-speed. Good lord.
Could have picked a better style of bike, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Ryan, the finish on it is something to behold. I only wish that everybody could see it face to face. This thing is three-dimensional. I mean, you can touch it and feel the artwork on it. Tell us about that process, Ryan.
I can honestly tell you that there's not a single person in the shop that knew what the hell I was doing. In this case, I wasn't spraying paint for the artwork and the color. I was literally spraying primer. So I primed over all my tape, unpeeled the whole thing, painted it black, put some satin clear on there, and that's basically it. Well, one of the things that you asked me or told me is you didn't want this to be known as the church bike.
Right.
What do you think?
You did. Yeah, I mean, that you hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, that's perfect.
So, Cheryl, let me ask you, fits him?
Beautiful.
You
You
did?
nailed it. You guys are above and beyond. Nailed it.
So if he wants to ride in the house in front of the living room, you'd be okay with that?
No, but
You try, Gordy.
like this is beautiful.
Stamp of approval, sir?
It's far beyond what I could have imagined. I'm in love with it.
Amen. And this thing is parked wherever you have it. It's going to draw people in just because it's so wicked. And when they get up on it, they're going to start noticing stuff. So, all right, let's do this. Let's go to the office. Let's get some paperwork going. Let's get you in the win.
Let's do it.
Man, I got to tell you, this bike was a challenge, but it came out gorgeous. Gordy is happy. I am happy. And I got to tell you, Ryan pulled out all the stops. His subtle beauty is all over this bike. I gotta say, man, the closer you get to this bike, the more you see it just keeps going and going. This is definitely going to fix Gordy's bike envy, and he's going to be the talk of the town wherever he goes on this ride. I'm not kidding you, too. You're going to get addicted to the ride. You're not going to believe you're all rigid with no suspension at all. You're not going to believe that front end is 20 inches over stock. It just rides beautifully. You're going to see I am so good. Come on, brother, bring out that beautiful Avanti.
Nothing looks like that. That is so beautiful.
Everybody loves a treasure story.
From the producers of The Curse of Oak Island. The hunt is going global. Join Rick and Marty in the war room as they investigate the world's greatest treasure mysteries.
Every treasure hunt is a puzzle with a reward.
Stolen gold, hidden fortunes, cursed treasures.
We're in search of the truth, in search of the answers.
World's greatest treasure mysteries. Tonight at 9:45 on the History Channel.
Gold at the bottom of Lake Michigan. Okay, so let's see what you got.
A friend of mine, his grandfather, heard a deathbed confession. He said there's a boxcar in Lake Michigan, and inside was $2 million in gold bullion.
And 40 million today. If this is Confederate gold, I mean, wow.
Exactly.
And you think you can prove all this?
Yes, I do. I believe I can.
Get up there and find it.
We followed the money trail from one place to another.
Oh, my God.
They're all dedicated to this. Kevin, he's clearly the leader.
You got no permission to...
Oh, my goodness.
Got some
something right there.
I heard him. Damn it! Oh, go! We will find a boxcar.
It's here. It's not just money. There's historical significance.
There could be some gold in there, gentlemen.
Do I want them to succeed? You bet I do.
The Curse of Civil War Gold. Wednesdays at 9 on History 2.
Man, a few months back, rock and roll icon himself, Mr. Alice Cooper, brought me his 1963 Avanti that he wanted to make into a daily drivable car. But it was important to him that this thing kept that fresh off the factory floor look. Man, when I look at this car now, my boys not only restored this ride, frankly, they made a time machine. So this 63 Avanti, I gotta tell you, has seen some better days, man. But we put a lot of time in. We made this fiberglass package perfect and gorgeous. And we gave it some attitude, man, with that new wicked engine and transmission and a monster stereo that's only worthy of a rock and roll legend like Mr. Cooper himself. Now he's here right now, and he's going to lay his mascara-ridden eyes upon this car. I cannot wait to see the look on his face, because I got the feeling he will dig it. Man, today's a glorious day.
Couldn't be nicer.
I mean, it already is for me because I'm hanging out with legend Alice Cooper. Let me hit you with something for a second. You've been entertaining for years. 55 years. Amazing. Also, I'm telling you, Detroit Stories, your new record, I call them records, debuted #1 on the Billboard charts.
Only 48 years apart. And the last number.
You so it's awesome. Now, you really brought us an unusual.
I did.
1963 Studebaker Avanti.
Yes.
That's a very unusual.
I saw this Avanti and I went, nothing looks like that.
Yeah.
That's the most unique looking car.
Yeah. Yes, you wanted to keep a factory appearing car. But you wanted to update things. And when you see her, she looks not, but there's something about her that's different.
I am so good.
Cadillac! Come on, brother, bring out that beautiful Avanti.
Well, I can hear it already. Oh, I said, look at that. Nothing looks like that. No. Oh, yeah. It still looks like it should be in the future.
I agree.
That is so beautiful.
To turn this cool, old school relic into a reliable, powerful daily driver, we dropped in a smoking hot Blueprint 302 Ford engine that can easily crank out 370 horsepower. For interior stuff, my man Ghetto Bob did what he does best. He fixed all those old school tarnished seats and made them like new. He hand molded a brand new dash console with all new error correct dash gauges and installed a killer sound system fit for a rock star. The Fat team also worked their magic and got the body straightened up and fixed the collision damage that was hidden under all that old paint. Once that was done, Ryan topped her off with a factory fresh Wimbledon white paint job that looks even better than when it rolled onto the showroom floor in 1963. This car is cool, fast, and one of a kind, just like its own.
It just looks like some kind of an animal that would eat you.
Yeah, check out the inside. The interior is all brand new.
Oh, look
all
at this.
brand new.
And it's turquoise, 60s
Yes.
turquoise.
Yes, the dashboard that was in the car was done. And it's not like you can just, call up your local auto parts store and get a dash for a 63 Avanti. So, my man Bob,
He had to
actually
build it.
splashed a mold off of your old dash
Wow.
and made this dash
Yeah,
by hand.
It looks like it's been there forever.
We updated the air conditioning system. This has got Restomod air. You got two center vents there in the console that look like they belong in the car.
Yes.
That comes out of there.
That
And
was
then
never there, yeah.
onto the dash there and under the dash on the other side.
I'll never, ever get rid of this car.
Amen. This car should stay with you
This
forever.
is, all my life I've been going, if I get an Avanti,
Yeah.
I'm gonna fix it so that I can drive it every day, and it will never go out of style. All right, let's see the engine.
Oh, yeah.
You can drive it every day.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
and
the
that's
beauty
it.
of it.
See, I love that. We talked about that when we first started. It's a daily driver.
What you had in here before
Yeah.
was the 289 for the Avant.
Yeah.
The engine on that one was pushing 240 horsepower.
Yeah.
What you've got in here now is a 302. This one is now pushing 330 horsepower. So your horsepower has gone up dramatically.
Yes.
But on top of that, the car itself went on a major diet. So it's a lot lighter
Yeah.
and a lot more horsepower. This thing's a stinker. I'm going to show you the engine
So
now.
what he's saying is be careful.
Yeah, yeah.
He would never tell me to be careful.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. How pretty is that?
She really came out great.
Yeah, and that's real radiator.
The huge aluminum radiator, because you're in Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Your modern AC compressor.
Yeah.
It's the serpentine belt setup on the front, so that's simplified right there. You've got the Holley Sniper fuel injection setup on it, so it's turn the key and go. You got your MFD ignition, backed it up with the AOD automatic overdrive trans. So now you got overdrive in the car.
Okay.
So the entire front frame of this car, very big, very bulky, very heavy. The cross member itself was this huge piece of steel, was just insane.
Yeah.
We took all that out.
Yeah, you can see the ground before it was just stuff.
With this new subframe setup, you got power rack and pinion steering. It's tight. It steers properly. The car had drum brakes. Well, now we've got disc brakes. We've got power disc brakes.
Yes.
You said you wanted to drive this car every day.
Yes.
This car is ready to drive.
It looks like it just came. It looks like it just came off the showroom floor.
We are so not done. Absolutely. We're going to continue on. If you notice in the back,
I love this.
the package
Look
tray,
at that.
all custom made.
Yeah.
And form fitting for the seats.
Oh yeah.
And my man Ryan, he and the paint crew went off on all of the gaps,
Yes.
all of the body lines, straightens everything out. It's so perfect. And he laid down just this gorgeous Wimbledon white. You can drive it every day. It's completely dependable, but I even have more horsepower than
But it's so straight. The guy that designed this car, he designed this, the Barbie doll, and the Learjet.
Oh,
I mean, you can see it. It's got Learjet in it.
yeah. Oh, you
It's
can
got
tell.
it's got that DNA in it.
Yep, yep,
You
yep.
know, it looks longer now.
Well, because it got lower.
Yeah,
I took the back down
Yeah.
about 2 inches, took the
Yeah.
front down about 3 inches.
Yeah.
And measured for correct offset on the wheels to fill out those
I
fender wells.
love the rake on it.
Just sits right. So True Smoke made these wheels for me, and they're 15.7s in the front, but they're 15.9s in the back.
Yeah.
And it just fills out
The flying wedge.
Right. Brother, what I want to know right now, sir, stamp of approval.
It's now my #1 car. We have to name her because she's dangerous.
Yes.
She's elegant.
Yes.
And you know what keeps coming to me? The Countess. Because the Countess was always an elegant vampire in white.
Right. And if you're not careful, she'll get you.
Oh. It's magnificent. It really is.
I'm so glad you
Yeah.
take it. Kev, do me a favor, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put her back in there, and Alice and I are going to go in the office, and we're going to talk about getting it home.
That's a good deal. Thank you. Thanks, man. So it is the most elegant looking creature I think I've ever owned. If I saw this car drive up, I would roll the window down and say, how much? Whatever you say, I'm buying this car. So it's now part of the family. And don't forget to sharpen her fangs.
I got it. Man, what an honor to meet an honest to goodness rock and roll legend, Alice Cooper. And what a bigger honor to even work on his favorite car. This is so cool. And I'm so proud of my team, man. They worked so hard to put that giant smile on his face when that car came out the gate. It was just a beautiful thing. I know Mr. Alice Cooper himself is going to have a ball ripping around the streets of Phoenix when he gets his baby home. I'll keep cranking out his hits from Schools Out all the way to his new record, Detroit Stories, which I highly recommend. All I can say is Alice is one cool cat. Matt, he's got an amazing cool car drive every day. I am so proud of my team for making this happen.
What can jealousy make you feel?
Angry,
Fueled, dominated, frightened, wounded,
pure and utter evil.
What can jealousy make you do?
just burst out. Explosion of thoughts.
baseball bats, axes going through the car windows.
Olivia had been stabbed 6 times.
An emotion that turns people into monsters. Green-eyed killers. Sundays at 10 on Crime and Investigation.
Engineers live by Murphy's Law, and that says that anything that can happen will.
These pipes are under practically every street.
Holy majolies. You could say that this disaster was a string of bad decisions.
Machines break, components fail.
This will happen again.
Engineering Disasters starts Thursday the 12th of May at 9 on History 2.
Obsessive antiquities collector Hamilton White has amassed one of the most extraordinary collections of rare and precious things in private hands.
I mean, that's only one box. I've got stuff stored all over the place.
Along with his friend and fellow collector Carl Cookson, he previously investigated a unique hoard of Knights Templar treasure.
Oh my God. This is absolutely.
Since then, they have been busy, very busy.
The whole thing accelerated. It's an exciting journey. It just makes you feel alive.
Now they're going to be delving into the history of some of the most incredible and treasured items in Hamilton's collection. Assembled over a lifetime, these include Celtic gold that could help rewrite the history of the Celtic people.
Look at the size of that proliferation gold. Hamilton's beyond priceless.
A sword and very rare helmet from the First Crusade in the 11th century.
That's a weapon, isn't it?
And a mysterious white marble chalice from the Knights Templar treasure hoard.
Some of all the stuff that's coming out of the hall, it really is the best of the best.
To solve the mysteries of this treasure trove, they must travel across Europe and to the Middle East, where they make some stunning new discoveries.
They were hidden for a purpose. It's changing history.
The lost relic hunters are back on the trail, and what they uncover could change everything. This time, Carl and Hamilton are going to be investigating a Crusader sword and helmet that are more than 900 years old.
Yeah, that's the Venetian one I told you about before. Incredible condition, isn't it? Very, very good. Absolutely fabulous. Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, it wasn't. Like before the First Crusade, it's a weapon, isn't it? What's the issue? Yeah. What's the story with this? Very, very distinctive mark on it that dates it specifically to the time of the First Crusades. From the weight on this, it's cut downwards, so it's a sort of mounted right as opposed to yeah, condition-wise and everything about it, it's a fabulous story. That's magnificent.
Carl and Hamilton's investigation into the history and meaning of the Crusader items will take them on an epic journey to the stunning cities of Venice on the Adriatic Sea and the jewel of the East, Istanbul. But before they depart, they're meeting Oxford University expert Dr. Janina Ramirez, who specializes in interpreting symbols and the cultural significance of ancient artifacts. She's getting a peek at one of the most extraordinary private collections of antiquities anywhere in the world.
I'm running to the treasures.
They're beginning in Hamilton's farm, where he's laid out items from the Dark Ages and medieval. He knows will pique her interest.
Presumably this is original. This is prehistoric.
Well, isn't enough, is
You
it?
need at least prehistoric female degree.
Not got 17.
And this sword then, so tell me about that.
Well, it's just a complete Celtic chief's grave.
I can't get over this. Can I touch it? This is history in my hands.
You're more Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah.
just walked past on the track here. Is that interesting?
It's a chain. I've never been older in a normal. I've never seen, well, I've never handled one. I've never seen one in this condition. It's absolutely amazing. They're usually horribly corroded. This one is impeccable.
That's filtered to Asarte, which is quite a rare thing.
Oh my gosh, this is so important. I mean, I don't think I've seen ones even of that quality in international museums. It's so high quality, absolutely astonishing. I just can't believe where I am. What's going on?
I want to understand where Hamilton gets these objects from. I want to hear what he has to say about them.
Okay, where? Fine.
I want to be there to bring my own eye to it, to say, let's really question this. Let's really see if it's the real deal. If it is, what can it tell us about the past?
Hamilton is eager to show Janina the Crusader sword and helmet that he and Carl are going to investigate further.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
One of the things I find fantastic about it is yet the economics are incredible. But when you actually pick it up, it starts telling you the story and tells you exactly what it's capable of.
Wow.
Lovely options.
That is a serious sword. Tell me about this sword.
Well, it's a sword of the First Crusade. You have to get it in the right light to see the markings on it.
Ooh, I see it across. Ooh, S.
S in the first.
What is that?
It's actually OS.
OS.
O Sancti, of the First Crusade.
In the late 11th century, Christian warriors from all over Europe took up arms to recover Jerusalem from Islamic rule. Many performed a special prayer in Latin before they embarked. The markings on Hamilton's blade suggest this sword was owned by a knight departing on the First Crusade, called by the Pope in 1095.
The O Sancti being the prayer of the First Crusader, it's marking your blade. But then God's work.
Janina is looking at historical accounts of how the First Crusade began, and why so many heeded the call to arms by the Pope.
We could say that the First Crusade kicked off at a specific moment. Pope Urban II gives a speech at the Council of Clermont in November 1095, and it really is a powerful speech. He says, all who die in battle against the pagans shall have immediate remission of sins. He says, you should shudder at raising a violent hand against Christians. It is less wicked to brandish your sword against Saracens. He is inciting religious war. And the take-up is astonishing. The fact that tens of thousands of people from all different demographics were drawn to this crusade is a sign that his words worked. Where was Hamilton's sword coming from? It probably came from one of the bases that were providing large numbers of crusading knights. Was it England? Was it France? Was it Italy? We don't know. But that stamp of OS does suggest it's someone that's already an existing member of a knightly order.
Hamilton's Crusader helmet holds an important clue that leaves little doubt as to which region and even which city its owner came from.
I am very excited about the helmets. For a start, helmets are relatively rare. What's on the front? So we're talking Venice? And what age do you think it is?
First Crusade again.
It's a bit of a dream, really, when you get an object that has a very clear symbol on it that can tell you exactly where it came from and roughly when it was made. I'm loving the mixed symbolism as well, the way that the lion is in this quatrefoil, so it's got Christian connotations of the cross.
The surviving examples, that's certainly the only one with the line of Venice on that I've been able to find anywhere.
Yeah, it's interesting to know more about how it's made.
Hamilton has had scientific tests, including X-rays, carried out on the helmet to establish how and when it was made.
can just see the slight difference in thicknesses on the metal.
Do you know what you can see? That looks like
Hammermarks.
hammermarks. That's the shape of the hammerhead banging it into shape. There's a sense that this has been modified, worked out with the metal as you're going along. It's not perfect. It's not perfectly symmetrical, perfectly finished. But that suggests it's handmade, and that suggests it's original.
Ancient objects and that.
This is the kit of Crusaders, and this is the beginning of the story of crusading knights. The helmet can tell me a lot already, hearing the stories of the past that this object has to tell me. But let's see what else Carl and Hamilton can discover.
For help decoding what the Lion of St. Mark's symbolism on the helmet would have meant to the first Crusaders, Hamilton has come to the Cotswolds to visit coin expert and forensic archaeologist Roger Box.
I'm a retired police officer. I was a detective, scenes of crime specialist, but I'm a specialist in ancient history and coins in particular. Coins are little keys that open doors to history. I know a lot of collectors, but Hamilton is in a league on his own. He is off the radar screen when it comes to the bizarre. But he's a specialist in armour and later medieval objects, whereas I have more knowledge on earlier pieces. I can fill gaps in Hamilton's knowledge. Hamilton, oh, come on in, come on in. Are you familiar with the coins of the Crusader period? Some, but not all. Well, the Crusaders had their own coinage, basically. Coinage was a part of the system. Venice was beginning to become the principal trader in the Mediterranean. They were on the rise. They had to have proper, good quality coinage. And these small, what's called dinars of the 12th century are very inconvenient. You need literally bucketfuls to do business. But this is no good for international trade. You must upgrade the quality. These are these particular coins, but they're larger and they're known as a grosso. The word grosso means in a big penny. These are almost pure silver, and they're quite interesting. You will see the figure of Christ on the one side, okay, he's sitting on the throne. Opposite is the Doge, who is receiving the standard or the banner from St. Mark.
The coins indicate just how powerful a force Venice had become in medieval Europe. They also echo the symbolism of St. Mark displayed on the helmet. Carl and Hamilton's next stop on their mission to investigate the origin of that symbolism and power is the floating city, Venice.
It just says money and power, doesn't it?
Everybody wants a treasure story.
From the producers of The Curse of Oak Island. The hunt is going global. Join Rick and Marty in the war room as they investigate the world's greatest treasure mysteries.
Every treasure hunt is a puzzle with a reward.
Stolen gold, hidden fortunes, cursed treasures.
You're in search of the truth, in search of the answers.
World's greatest treasure mysteries. Tonight at 9:45 on the History Channel.
There are some stories that stay with you. Stories that make you pause and listen.
Each time, he was never caught, so he became more and more dangerous.
Crime and Investigation presents new cases that make national headlines and that still shock us to this day.
He's meeting people on these dating apps, and he's going on to murder them.
Join me for a brand new series of Killer Written on crime and investigation.
Carl and Hamilton have come to Venice to investigate the history of their Crusader helmet. The city is made up of 118 islands, connected by 170 canals and 400 bridges. Carl's been before, but it is Hamilton's first time.
That's wait till you introduce. Wait till you see this place. It's on all the levels. I mean, it's staggering.
Venice was in the perfect geographic position to benefit from international trade, the gateway between East and Western Europe. it was a leading naval and commercial power for a millennium.
It's just interesting that the helmet was here, what, 1,000 years ago? Yeah. It still exists. It should.
The city shouldn't exist either. The foundations were built by driving poles of wood into the clay sea floor, allowing this majestic city to defy belief and stand above the water for 1,500 years.
The idea that you can build these monumental places on a swamp.
This floating city was once the richest and most powerful in Europe.
Wow, look at that sunset. It really is just remarkable how much money this place must have had, the opulence of all of it.
The next morning, Carl and Hamilton are up early. They want to find out more about their Crusader helmet, embellished with the Lion of St. Mark. They're meeting local guide and historian Dario Canciello to help them navigate Venice's waterways and explore the city's Crusader history.
Hamilton, why don't you tell me about your crusade helmet?
It relates specifically to Venice, which is very, very unusual. I mean, it's a fairly standard helmet of the period, you know, sort of 1100, give or take a little bit, but decorated with a sort of heraldic crest of the Lion of St. Mark.
The lion is that's the symbol for Venice.
Pretty sure it's the only one that you can actually tie up to a specific city-state.
We are right in the Sommat Square, Piazza Sommato, in the heart of the city. To our right, we have Palazzo Ducale.
The Palazzo Ducale, or Doge's Palace, was the residence of the Doge of Venice, the most powerful elected official of the old republic.
And we're just standing by these columns. They represent the main entrance into town from the sea.
And it's the lion, exactly the same as on the helmet.
That's the lion, the Apostle of St. Mark, the evangelist, the winged lion, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a symbol of power, isn't it? The moment you arrive here, you know, looking at such an impressive place next to the palace, it just says money and power, doesn't it?
But how did St. Mark become the patron saint of Venice? And what role did this play in its rise to power and involvement in the First Crusade? The answer can be found in a series of mosaics that decorate the front of St. Mark's Cathedral, constructed in the 9th century.
There's 5 arches here, and each one's got a different part of the story. There was 2 representatives of the Doge that went down to Alexandria, but it was under Muslim control. And they knew St. Mark's body or relics was in a church there. So they stole the body, but they placed it into a wicker basket, covered it in pork with cabbage leaves. It's really graphic, isn't it? Because to show what happened when you got a Muslim control force trying to inspect it. Opened it up and you see the pork. You can see the faces, you can smell it, taken away. They got away with it. The second mosaic is fantastic because it shows the return of the body of St. Mark. And you've got the Doge there, absolutely delighted. It made it. I think it's a fantastic representation of what happened and how they must have felt.
Rome had St. Peter, and now Venice had its own major saint.
If you want to be a player, you need a big saint, and St. Mark was the top guy for it. Put Venice right on the map as a big time power trading city, and then they decided to adopt the winged lion of St. Mark as a symbol of Venice. That's why it's everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, adopting the lion as a symbol, it's a branding. You know, if anything else, it's like an important building. I mean, relating it to the use on the actual helmet, you know, there were no uniforms or no regular military coats at the time. To put it on the flag, to put it on your heraldic crest on your armour, it's everywhere you go in the world, it becomes an instantly recognised, I suppose you call it a trademark now. To see the lion on a helmet, everybody would immediately recognise that's my fellow Venetian.
Yeah.
If I'm in the Holy Land or wherever I am, that's one of us.
Although Hamilton's helmet was manufactured at the time of the First Crusade, the Venetians joined the campaign to conquer the Holy Land relatively late.
The First Crusade spans from 1095 up to 1102, and there are phases within it. So, in the very earliest phase, it's known as the People's Crusade. The take-up was largely not the knightly class, but everyday people.
Lacking in military discipline, the People's Crusade rapidly became bogged down on the road to the Holy Land. Running out of money and supplies, they never reached Jerusalem, but they were succeeded by the Prince's Crusade, led by the battle-hardened knightly class.
Then there's a higher take-up of points, and what's interesting is that people are coming from across Christendom. There are knights coming from England, from France, from Flanders. The slightly later phase of the First Crusade known as the Prince's Crusade.
After 3 years of fighting its way through Europe and the Middle East, the Prince's Crusade finally reached Jerusalem in 1099, and after a brutal and bloody assault, recaptured the city from its Muslim rulers. Jerusalem was finally in Christian hands. Hamilton's sword, with its OS engraving, would have almost certainly belonged to a knight who took part in that victorious campaign.
What Hamilton's sword suggests is that it must have been someone from this knightly class because of that seal.
By this time, Venice, with its potent emblem of the Lion of St. Mark, had become so wealthy and so powerful that it was able to make the largest single contribution to the First Crusade. 200 war galleys with 9,000 crusaders on board. Hamilton's helmet would have been worn by one of those 9,000 Venetian knights voyaging to the Holy Land. The Venetian crusaders land in Jaffa, west of Jerusalem, in 1100. Their war galleys and warriors are then used to help conquer the coastal cities of Haifa and Sidon and secure the crucial trade and transport routes to the sea. Venice was now a maritime power that could not be ignored. With Jerusalem under Crusader control, by the 12th century, the Republic of Venice dominated the entire eastern Mediterranean, as well as trade routes to the east. Venetians now sought a leader who could build on its growing power and influence. Enter Enrico Dandolo, an ambitious member of a wealthy and politically powerful family. In his 80s and blind, Dandolo was elected 41st Doge of Venice in 1192. He upgraded the currency, introducing the grosso, or big penny, to replace the dinar. And he was determined that Venice should rival the might of Rome. His opportunity came when Pope Innocent III rallied a new crusade in 1198 to recapture Jerusalem that had once again fallen under Muslim control. In early 1201, 6 French envoys came to Venice, now the strongest maritime power in Europe, to negotiate for the supply of a fleet of ships to transport the Crusader army to the Holy Land.
We're in the spot where all the discussions took place. It was the French coming here to persuade the Venetians to use their shipbuilding skills with promises of how much they were going to be paid. The Crusaders would be coming here.
Dandolo agreed to provide both the ships and the provisions for the new crusade. The price was fixed at 85,000 silver marks, double the entire annual revenue of France. It was the biggest project in Venetian history that would require most of the resources and manpower of the city-state for at least a year.
The major undertaking was the commitment of pretty much every person in Venice getting behind what the Doge said.
Nearly 18 months later, in the summer of 1202, the Crusaders were due to assault Venice. But when less than half of the 33,000 knights arrived, they were unable to pay their bill. Venice now faced financial ruin.
It stopped the entire economy for 2 years in preparation, so that the whole produce of Venice has been blown on a promise that never materialised. Yeah, and that's where the leverage came. Well, if you can't pay your bill, you're going to have to do us some favours in lieu of payment.
Dandolo hatched a plan to recover the lost revenue. En route to Jerusalem, he would use the Crusader army to sack the richest city in the world, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, Constantinople.
And with what people don't realise is that Dandolo himself was nearly 90 at the time, and then he actually took it upon himself that he was going to leave it. Despite the fact he's 90 and he's blind, he walked the talk. Yeah, what a job.
The crusading force set sail from Venice in October 1202. What happened next would not lead to the victorious campaign of the First Crusade and the recapture of the holy city of Jerusalem, but to an outbreak of unprecedented religious bloodshed. Not Christian against Muslim, but Christian against Christian. Coming up, Karl and Hamilton travel to the city of Istanbul, formerly Constantinople, following this controversial crusade under the banner of the Venetian Lion of St. Mark.
The wall at the bottom of Lake Michigan. Okay, so let's see what you got.
A friend of mine, his grandfather, heard a deathbed confession. He said there was a boxcar in Lake Michigan, and inside was $2 million in gold bullion.
I informed you today. If this is Confederate gold, I mean, wow, exactly. If you guys are right, it's not just money, there's historical significance. Get up there and find it.
The Curse of Civil War Gold. Wednesdays at 9 on History 2.
What can jealousy make you feel?
Angry.
Fueled, dominant, violent, or not either.
What can jealousy make you do?
Just burst out. Explosion bombs. Facebook beds, axes going through the car windows.
Olivia had been stabbed 6 times. An emotion that turns people into monsters. Rewrite Killers. Sundays at 10 on Crime Investigation.
Karl and Hamilton have travelled to Istanbul. Known as Constantinople until the 15th century, the Christian city was the jewel of the Byzantine Empire. They're following the route of the fleet that set sail from Venice, led by Doge Enrico Dandolo during the Fourth Crusade, with the avowed intention of liberating the Holy Land from Islamic rule. But the Venetians' new mission was anything but holy. Rather than heading for Jerusalem, they were diverting to the wealthiest city in Europe to ransack it and seize by force monies owed to them by the crusading knights for the fleet they had built. Constantinople had been founded in the 4th century by Emperor Constantine and became the new capital of the Roman Empire. The narrow approach to the city by ship through the Bosphorus and the heavily fortified Roman walls had made it virtually impregnable for centuries. Karl and Hamilton have come to the ruins of the old city walls to try and figure out how the Crusaders, led by Dandolo, managed to breach them.
In terms of the actual attack, what's your perspective on that, how they would have done it?
You've actually got a whole succession of walls that you're breaching because progressively over 9 centuries, the walls and the defences have expanded and expanded. And the most vulnerable part of the wall was actually coming in from the water because the technology of actually grading from a boat hadn't really been invented. Certain parts of the Crusader fleet that devised a tactic. You simply drew up to the walls from the ocean. and you had this sort of very cleverly devised bridge. Almost got the drawbridge flat on top of the walls from the ocean, and it seems that that's the way the Venetians got themselves into the city. And then once the tower has been taken, you've got access to gates, and the gates open, and then everybody comes from every direction.
I think it just got a bit overconfident with the wealth and the power. These walls were supposed to be impenetrable.
And probably the last thing they ever expected was that exactly why would other Christian nations that we've been helping for 100 years suddenly turn on us in the way they did.
That's why Crusades didn't bother to carry on with it. The Pope actually went berserk over it at the time.
Well, I think it caused an awful lot of controversy because it was going diametrically opposed to the crusading ethos.
Dr. Janina Ramirez has been digging into the background of Hamilton's Crusader armor. She's also been looking at the evolution of the Crusades and how a holy war against Muslims had turned, by the beginning of the 13th century, into a battle between two Christian armies at the gates of Constantinople.
With the First Crusade, there was a sense in which it was a holy war. It was inspired by the Pope and its Christians against pagans. By the time of the Fourth Crusade, a line has been crossed. This is Christians killing other Christians.
During Dandolo's lifetime, Venetian merchants, including Dandolo himself, had been discriminated against and persecuted by their commercial rivals in Constantinople. It's been suggested that Dandolo's motives for attacking the city were personal as well as financial.
I don't know, and I don't think many people know what his grudge was, but Dandolo certainly had some issues with Constantinople.
There was definitely a personal loathing or a personal vendetta.
He was on his neck, wasn't he? Yeah. He stood on the ropes of the ship when it came in to let everyone know, I'm coming in, guys.
In his full armour, standing at the prow of the very first ship, leading it up against the walls.
Yeah, he had some books, didn't he?
Carved his name into history, certainly.
Janina has found a first-hand account of the sacking of Constantinople by the Crusaders in April 1204.
The events of that sacking were recorded by a chronicler, possibly who was a witness to the events himself. His name is Nikitas Koniates, and he writes this account of the city of Byzantium. He was a government official at the time, and what he says can be trusted. Some of his accounts are quite disturbing. He writes, the enemy, now that there was no one to raise a hand against them, ran everywhere and drew the sword against every age and sex. Each did not join with the next one to form a coherent battle array, but all poured out and scattered, since everyone was terrified of them.
Karl and Hamilton are following in the footsteps of those Crusaders, as they would have fought their way to the centre of the Byzantine capital, the Roman Hippodrome. The site where it stood is now known as Sultan Ahmed Square.
This is where the Hippodrome was.
Fantastic. There's nothing left of it other than the outline, but the proportions and everything. This is how it was. This is how big the racetrack was.
Absolutely staggering to think that this was a sports arena in that area with
2,000 years ago.
thunder and chariots.
It's been a fantastic spectacle.
And
When Constantinople was the capital of the Roman Empire in the 4th century, the Hippodrome was the hub of the city. Tens of thousands of people would come to watch the exhilarating chariot races. It was packed with priceless artworks from across the Roman Empire.
The centre of the racetrack was almost an art gallery to the emperor, because this is not only the capital of the country, it's the capital of the whole empire. It's a symbol of absolute prestige and power that the emperor has.
One of the only remaining symbols of that prestige is an ancient obelisk in the southwest corner of the square.
And I think an awful lot of people would ask, why do you have the enormous lump of granite, which is very clearly a sort of Egyptian obelisk, sat in the middle of the Hippodrome? It's the book. It's demonstrating power again.
The obelisk is one of the only prized pieces of art left after the Crusaders indulged in an orgy of destruction and looting in the city. Probably because it was too big and too heavy to be carried off by ship.
This account from Nikitas Koniatis' annals really captures the nature of the mob that descended on Constantinople. He writes, because they were in want of money, for the barbarians are unable to sate their love of riches, they covetously eyed the bronze statues. These barbarians, haters of the beautiful, did not allow the statues standing in the hippodrome and other marvelous works of art to escape destruction. There's something very powerful about this account. What Nikitas is describing was an act of barbarism.
The sack of Constantinople in 1204 was brutal and barbaric, but it more than succeeded in recovering Venice's losses on providing the fleet. The value of the treasure they looted far exceeded what was owed by the Crusaders to the Venetian state. Karl and Hamilton have returned to Venice to look for the looted treasures from Constantinople. They're back in St. Mark's Square. These exquisite bronze horses on the facade of St. Mark's Basilica are replicas of the originals that were looted from the Hippodrome in Constantinople and brought here on Enrico Dandolo's orders. They date from classical antiquity and are renowned for their skillful rendering of horses in motion.
Those are arguably one of the most famous statues of the whole ancient world that still exists. They have taken what they perceived was probably the best piece of sculpture in Constantinople at the time, and they put it in the most prominent place in Venice again to demonstrate to anybody looking, we can take your treasures. These are the spoils of the war. It's a trophy.
Hamilton and Karl have found another piece of evidence of Venetian looting in Constantinople. Two mysterious plates tucked away in a corner on the south side of St. Mark's Basilica.
It's standard Karl. It's all the leaves, bunches of grapes.
I can dog's face.
Is that a smile this is?
There was a mouse there. The dog symbolizes the death of the others. It's life and death.
The thing about archaeology is it's a constantly evolving topic because up until the 1960s, this war was believed to have come from Asia over in Europe. And it's a history proven that that's not actually true. And which are we have to see that it's been broken. It was broken 1,000 years ago when they moved it, or more recently.
Yeah, this is the Venetians closed Constantinople. It's one of the most controversial things. I believe that nation will be attacking a Christian nation.
It was because they had no Christian fighting anymore. They wanted to enrich themselves. That's why Venice is the glorious place it is today.
Coming up, Karl and Hamilton return to Istanbul to investigate the site where these two columns were from, and they make a remarkable discovery.
That's quite a front.
Everybody wants a treasure story.
From the producers of The Curse of Oak Island,
Late summertime.
the hunt is going global. Join Rick and Marty in the war room as they investigate the world's greatest treasure mysteries.
Every treasure hunt is impossible. Whatever you want.
Stolen gold, hidden fortunes, cursed treasures.
We're in search of the truth and searching the answers.
The world's greatest treasure mystery. Tonight at 9:45 on the History Channel.
I said this a little bit sharply.
Karl and Hamilton are back in Istanbul, formerly known as Constantinople. They've come to the ruins of the once opulent church of St. Polyuctos, built in the 6th century. They're looking for evidence to link the two pillars they found in Venice to this church, which would prove that they were plundered by Doge Enrico Dandolo's crusaders in the 13th century.
Not that it looks much today. This was one of the larger Christian churches in Constantinople. We're actually at the level of the crypt. There is really nothing in the way of overground structures left at all.
This is the same church where there was
It seems to have been stripped.
As the duo explore the site, could there be any evidence to uncover inside this ominous crypt?
No, this one.
I think I found something very interesting. It's just down here. It's a corner of a college, no house about it.
Carl believes this could be a missing piece from one of the two columns they visited at St. Mark's Basilica in Venice that has been left here for the last 800 years.
I think the columns were in about 3 sections. There's a frieze like that with that doors. There's a section here, not only has it got that, but on the side, it's got the same vines and grapes. I think that's quite a find. I mean, that's just quite remarkable to see that just there. I'm sure that's it's so descriptive. Yeah, let's see that. I mean, I'd like to be in your mind, to hear what you're thinking.
It's something so specific because that particular style of carving does appear to be unique. The lump of stone with the carving on it, it's got a value. A lump of stone with the carving that put to a specific building matches up with something that you know was taken in the Crusades. Well, you're talking a completely different thing. Priceless. Well, yeah, I mean, that's high-end art. It really is.
It's just gorgeous, isn't it? And then to say, yeah, the only other place you get what we're going to say.
That's where Venice. Yeah, that's a pretty special stone. Oh, it really is.
This fragment of stone is a new and vital piece of evidence linking the pillars in Venice to the desecration of this Christian site. And this wasn't the only church to be violated.
Hagia Sophia itself was attacked. The idea that a Christian could go into a church and actually break up, destroy, melt down beautiful artworks, but sacred objects.
Carl and Hamilton are at the final stage of their investigation. They've come to the last place to be defiled by the wounded crusaders, the largest church of the Byzantine Empire, the magnificent Hagia Sophia. Now a mosque, its dome standing at a breathtaking 180 feet, it remained the world's largest cathedral for nearly 1,000 years.
It's incredible. It's amazing.
Just remarkable that it's actually lasted so long without being spoiled and desecrated.
It's a very powerful thing to me.
It's wonderful. That was exactly what the Venetians were looking at in 1204 when the First Crusaders were looking at. Once the city had been well and truly rooted and they've got everything worth having, so the whole Crusading force ended up in here.
After the dust had settled, a new Latin Empire, with its capital in Constantinople, was declared. Dandolo was offered the position of emperor, but demurred, and Baldwin of Flanders was crowned in the Hagia Sophia instead.
The old fellow Dandolo declined to take over Constantinople because of his, I suppose, health age, and that was the end of Byzantine Empire.
Constantinople.
My days were over.
Dandolo, you can imagine him thinking it was really lovely back in Venice because what he achieved.
He never returned. He lived out the last few years of his life here.
He's actually left his mark forever.
Well, more than that, he's buried here.
1 year after the sacking of Constantinople, Enrico Dandolo died and became the only person to ever be buried in the Hagia Sophia. Under his leadership, the Crusades had pitted Christian against Christian. It split the church asunder, leaving it incapable of ever mounting another successful campaign to recover Jerusalem or to defend Constantinople, which fell to the Ottomans 250 years later. Dandolo's bones remained in the Hagia Sophia until his tomb was destroyed when the Ottomans overran the city in 1453 and changed its name to Istanbul. Carl and Hamilton's investigation into these Crusader relics has shown how each represents a very different side to the Crusades. The sword was wielded by a knight of the First Crusade and would have played its part in a stunning victory that put Jerusalem back in Christian hands at the end of the 11th century. The Venetian helmet, however, and Venice's involvement in the Fourth Crusade just 100 years later, has revealed how lust for power, money, greed, and even a personal vendetta led not to a glorious victory, but to an orgy of Christian-on-Christian violence and bloodshed. The Crusades would never be seen as holy conquest again. Next time on Lost Relic Hunters, Carl and Hamilton investigate an incredible haul of ancient Celtic gold.
That's the ticket of £1 million worth of gold.
Taking them on an amazing journey through Portugal and 4,000 years of history.
It's like walking through time, isn't it?
But also revealing the darker side of Celtic ritual and sacrifice.
It's the focal point of whatever the ceremony is. A sacrifice.
It's incredibly rare for a criminal defendant to take the stand. It's a risk very few take.
It doesn't be charged with murder anybody.
I was addicted to his attention.
But that decision is likely the biggest one they ever made.
Brand new Call Cam under oath Fridays at 10 on Crime and Investigation.
We're back, Riley. Fellowship of the Navy. What we got in. It's cool. All right. Oh, focus the hope. It was always solved the mystery. On the road. This one has got to be close to giving up its secrets.
Brand new, The Curse of Ohio, tonight at 9 on the History Channel.
Abandoned cities, ancient cultures nearly erased by time, and colossal empires that simply vanished without a trace.
How's a civilization lost? Is it decimated by wars? Die off? Deadly plague or cataclysm? Cause. I think we would like the Mayans. And the rivers. Never do what you know. Well, rivers from dry. Why not?
Western Honduras, 1839. Explorers John Lawrence Stevens and Frederick Cannon mounted an expedition to investigate reports of mysterious ruins located in this remote, largely uncharted region. After scouting and mapping miles of the dark and penetrating jungle, they find some unusual features in the dense brush. Oddly shaped stones, peculiar carvings, and strange artifacts that can only be imagined. It isn't long before they realize they get an incredible discovery: the remains of the mysterious ancient Maya civilization deep in the lake.
What was so remarkable to Stephen's account with is eventually they found temples, platforms, and pyramids, very monumental architecture, and conical mounds, and other building platforms in the rainforest. And to look at these cities in the jungle
played out in the jungle was just absolutely remarkable. It got people's attention.
On the return to the United States, Stevens and Gather would publish an illustrated book of their findings, detailing 44 individual moves. Readers are astounded by the book's meticulous illustrations, which portray a sophisticated ancient society, and news of the astonishing find quickly spreads around the world.
It might become more mysterious as we collect more information. They have sophisticated writing system. They obviously have a sophisticated religious system and calendar system. And so the calendar, which would have been a very useful tool for the Maya priests to be able to understand, say, for example, when there was going to be a solar eclipse. They were ancient astronomers and architects. They have social structure that we're just beginning to understand, and their cities are remarkable.
At its peak, the Maya civilization stretched from Guatemala and Belize to western Honduras and El Salvador. Their total population was estimated to be in the millions, and concentrated in large city centers like Copan, Tikal, and Calakmul. And then, suddenly, during the 9th century AD, this advanced society just collapsed. Vast cities, ornate palaces, towering pyramids, all of them completely abandoned, left to be reclaimed by the jungle. But why?
The mystery of why Mayan civilization collapsed is one that archaeology has been debating forever. 830 is right about when all of the cities in the Maya area and all over Mesoamerica are falling apart. They drop their tools and they walk away. They're abandoning those cities, and it's a mystery. Where do people go? Why do they leave? You have such a sophisticated civilization. How do these things collapse? What went wrong?
For decades, archaeologists have speculated as to what might have caused the sudden demise of the Maya. Dozens of theories, blaming everything from drought to disease to devastating earthquakes, have been proposed. Yet the simple truth is, no one knows what really happened. But a recent study using state-of-the-art technology might have provided a significant clue. Northern Guatemala, 2016. An airplane operated by the University of Houston's National Center for Airborne Laser Mapping flies 2,000 feet above the thick jungle canopy. As the plane reaches its target area, an advanced scanning technology called LiDAR is used to fire laser pulses through the trees at the ground below. When the resulting data is later compiled into a three-dimensional rendering of the area, scientists are stunned by what they see.
Once LiDAR got involved, we saw roads leading out into other city sectors. We saw thousands upon thousands of houses. Collectively, all the areas that they covered were over 60,000 new buildings that we didn't see before.
Previously, they thought that the Maya reached probably a maximum level of population of around 5 million. But the estimates now take us up to at least 15 to 20 million.
Ever since the rediscovery of Maya ruins by Europeans in the 19th century, nearly every piece of data uncovered about the Maya raised more and more questions. But now, after scientists began using LiDAR, they finally started to find their answers, such as the possible cause of the Maya civilization's collapse. War.
As we started going out and recording and mapping these sites, we see defense, warfare structures. This is a remarkable thing that we never knew that these defensive works were out there. Then archaeologists scratch their heads and basically say, oh my gosh, the Maya were that, and warfare was very important.
We know there was warfare. They were building all kinds of defensive structures. Could that have something to do with the vanishing of the Mayans?
More and more, as the classic period went on, monuments became full of war imagery
and people taken captives and people being beheaded. So we know war was a factor. If it was just war, the victors would have claimed land and the losers would have paid. But that's not the fact. Everybody knows. Why? According to the Popol Vuh, the written history of the Mayans, they believed that time was cyclical in nature. Each cycle lasted for a fixed number of years, at which time a great cataclysm would wipe the slave clean so a new world could be born from the old one's ashes. So is this the real reason? Did the Maya abandon their great cities and disband their culture simply because an ancient prophecy told them when exactly to do it? The timing is very interesting. In 830, a great cycle is ending, and there was certainly evidence for them to believe that things were going bad. There were climate problems, there were resource problems, there were people fighting. Were they timing the leaving of their cities to the calendar that they created? That's a big possibility. Right or wrong, the Maya believed that the end of their civilization was at hand. And while that does seem a far-fetched notion, there actually exists one group of people that hold similar beliefs, the descendants of the Maya. When you talk to modern Maya people in the Guatemalan highlands, people called Dequis, Aki, they are priests who still follow the calendar, and they teach people that things begin and they come to an end, and that to be in harmony with the world, you need to know these cycles and change before the world changes you. It's very possible that back then, when all the signs that the world was going a serious wrong direction, that the Maya civilization as a whole said, these are the signs, the time is now, let's collectively change ourselves. Was the collapse of the Maya civilization simply the result of a self-fulfilling prophecy? There are many who aren't so sure. As far as they're concerned, something more sinister happened. And they believe the evidence can be found by studying the fate of another ancient civilization, one found much closer to home, the Anasazi.
Thousands of people live in this location, but something went terribly wrong.
He opened some kind of vortex, and everyone decided to never go there again.
Everybody wants a treasure story.
On the producers of The Curse of Oak Island. The hunt is going global. Join Rick and Marty in the war room as they investigate the world's greatest treasure mysteries.
Every treasure hunt is a puzzle with a reward.
Stolen gold, hidden fortunes, cursed treasures.
Go in search of the truth and search for the answers.
World's greatest treasure mysteries. Tonight at 9:45 on the History Channel.
Engineers live by Murphy's Law, and that says that anything that can happen will.
These pipes are under practically the street.
Holy but jolly.
You could say that this disaster was a string of bad decisions.
Machines break, and all is fail.
This will happen again.
Engineering disasters starts Thursday the 12th of May at 9 on History 2.
Set into the high cliffs of Mesa Verde National Park in southwestern Colorado is what many consider to be America's biggest mystery. A mystery carved in solid rock. That's what this country contains more than 150 chambers connected by extensive ramps and stairways. I talked to one archaeologist from the start. It was constructed by a tribe of Ancestral Pueblo known as the Anasazi. The Ancestral Pueblo are a people that grew up in the Four Corners area of the United States. They're actually in an area called the San Juan Basin, where they spent most of their history, all the way into Paleo-Indian times, which is about 12,000 years ago. They're a culture we call basket weavers, and they did most of their cooking and gathering in pit houses in weaved baskets. I think one of the things that's the most admirable about the Ancestral Pueblo is their ability to live in such a resource-poor environment. It was highland desert, there were not many natural plants to eat, it was very difficult to grow corn, there were not a whole lot of animals to hunt, and yet they found a way to live in that niche and survive. Starting in the 9th century, the Anasazi expanded their civilization by building massive structures throughout the Southwest. First in New Mexico's Chaco capital, and later in the cliffs of Mesa Verde. There was a big explosion in the kind of architecture they were making, and its scale and its sophistication. There were already tens of thousands of little communities, but they started building these gigantic buildings. We call them great houses. And they were apartment complexes, but on a scale that the Federal had never made. Hundreds of individual rooms would make up these great houses, and they could be upwards of 5 stories tall. For years, people studied the Anasazi. I wondered how a simple group of people developed into an advanced civilization so quickly. But perhaps even more of the intriguing question is, why would those same people go to such great lengths to build incredible structures, only to abandon them?
And then during the 1200s, very mysteriously, suddenly disappeared. And archaeologists looked at these remains at the time of the civilization disappearance. It was very sudden. It was grabbed they could and drove off.
The people just up and left. They left behind their belongings, and there is evidence that this activity occurred very quickly. It was almost as if they left behind ghost towns. So what really happened to the Anasazi? We know that the wreck must have been because there were periods when there was virtually no rain.
We can say they left for drought reasons. But if these perfectly good places were good again after the drought, why didn't they come back? It had to be more than just a practical well and plant anymore. If it wasn't drought that caused the Anasazi to leave their drift mountains, then what was it? According to some anthropologists, the answer may lie in their own mythology, in a tale about a shadowy supernatural figure known as
The story of the gambler tells of a very powerful figure who challenges all the people in the Four Corners region to these gambling matches, and he always wins. And in these stories, the people give away their goods. Eventually, they're giving away even their homes and their food, and eventually themselves as slaves to this powerful gambling figure.
And in their mythology, they say the gambler was the one who taught them how to build these great houses and asked them to do it basically in terms of slavery. They were then his to command.
Eventually, in the story, the gods decide that the gambler has overstepped. He has become full of hubris. He's behaving in a way he shouldn't. So he's eventually defeated and banished from Chaco Canyon.
So when the gambler was finally found, it said that he laid some kind of curse on him. He said, I will kill you with lightning, and I will send ordinances. May the cold freeze you, may the fire burn you, may the waters drown you.
Some groups say he opened up some kind of vortex, and because there was so much madness and so much suffering, everyone made the decision to leave and never go there again. Many cultures have tales of a wily trickster Someone who cheats people out of hearth and home by laying a curse on the village and vanishing from the It could be Anasazi's legend that began have actually been based on a real incident.
I went into museum collections and I found hundreds of gambling pieces excavated from Pueblo Bonito and the other buildings in the canyon, like dice or pieces used in different guessing games. There's a lot of archaeological evidence for gambling in Chaco Canyon, and I do think the stories are literal in the sense that it was a major aspect of society. It has to do with actual people, historical events.
Does archaeological evidence of gambling mean the Anasazi legend of the gambler is simply a parable about the dangers of unchecked dice? Or were the Anasazi forced to flee from their homes after being tormented by some sort of god, supernatural force?
Very often, abandoned villages or abandoned sites are held to be haunted by the ghosts. This is probably a very widespread notion that when a civilization collapses, very often something went wrong. And it's not purely physical, it's something spiritual.
Today, Pueblo people will go to Chaco and they will honor their ancestors there, but some groups of them say that there was a very bad thing that happened there and that their ancestors, for a long period of time, didn't go there and they wanted nothing to do with it.
Could a deadly curse really have caused the Anasazi to abandon their elaborate cliff life? There are those who believe in dark forces for response. And that similar forces are also behind the mysterious disappearance of what might have been the world's first civilization, the one located at a place now known as Göbekli Tepe. Southeast Turkey, October 1994. While plowing his field, shepherd Sabat Yeli spots a strangely shaped stone emerging from the parched earth. When he brushes away the dirt, he realizes the stone may be part of a much larger event. After reporting his find, he is visited by archaeologist Klaus Schmidt and a team from the German Archaeological Institute. Further excavation reveals the stone is actually part of a massive, elaborately carved stone pillar. One in what turns out to be dozens that form an ancient underground complex.
Göbekli Tepe is arguably the most important archaeological discovery in recent years. We're talking about a whole series of stone circles built on the top of a mountain. If you can imagine Stonehenge in England, but multiplied by 20 times, and have these stones in circles facing towards two massive great monuments, as much as 18.5 feet tall, weighing between 15 and 20 tons. This is what we see at Göbekli Tepe.
Göbekli Tepe could very well be the first lost civilization. We've only uncovered a small percentage of it, like 10 or 15%. We have no idea really how much bigger this is and what else we're going to find.
We have to ask ourselves, could Göbekli Tepe be a place of commerce and trade? And I think the answer is an undoubted yes, because its construction would have necessitated the presence of not just hundreds, but many thousands of people coming from across the region who, at the beginning, were hunter-gatherers.
While there are many theories, the true purpose of Göbekli Tepe remains shrouded in mystery. But no less mysterious than the stones themselves is the lost civilization of Pasok. Because when 7 layers of the site were carbon dated, it was shockingly revealed that Göbekli Tepe is more than 12,000 years old.
Göbekli Tepe really did send shockwaves through the whole world of early prehistory, because we've never before known or imagined even that simple hunter-gatherers could produce such spectacular monumental structures as are found in Göbekli Tepe. Now, many of these pillars also have remarkable carvings, wonderful carvings and bas-reliefs of animals, birds, insects, all kinds of things. So to fashion those and carve them and set them up in these structures was just absolutely amazing.
More than one-third of Göbekli Tepe's stone pillars contain elaborate bas-relief carvings of various animals. But what has many archaeologists and historians found is that many of the species depicted, like geese, armadillos, wild boar, are not indigenous to the area. That location just happens to be near where Noah and the animals in the ark ended the long journey through the flood. And these giant pillars in Göbekli Tepe are carvings of animals, many different kinds of animals. Are these the animals from the ark? Did the stories about those animals end up being depicted in stone? Could there really be a connection between Göbekli Tepe and the Great Flood? Perhaps. But according to another audacious theory, the animal carvings at Göbekli Tepe may have been inspired by another, even older, biblical story.
Göbekli Tepe is located in the very area that the Bible tells us the Garden of Eden was located. It is said that Eden was where the 4 rivers of paradise took their rise. 2 of those rivers were the Euphrates and the Tigris that flowed through Mesopotamia. And these both rose in the same area as Göbekli Tepe. Professor Klaus Schmidt, the German archaeologist, even suggested himself that this could be the area of Eden and the point of foundation of civilization.
The Garden of Eden. It's a fascinating theory, but one that is not without its problems, because archaeological evidence shows that Göbekli Tepe was not only